Okay, we are live. I've just got to be ready to mute. There we go. Okay. The like playback of our stream. Oh, Elizabeth, I like your mug.
Oh, thank you.
So fun.
Oh, that is cute.
Well, hi everyone, and welcome to the Fairacre Festival discussion. And we are here with Angie.
Yay, Angie's back.
Exciting. And Elizabeth.
Yay, Elizabeth
joining us again. Yes. So yeah, we've kind of been tag teaming between Elizabeth and Janelle, and we were going to, it was going to, January was going to be Janelle's month, but her library didn't have the book. So I even tried to gift her a Kindle copy, and it was like, you cannot gift these to residents of Canada and, outside the US.
I looked on eBay even to see if I could find an extra copy. And I thought about like reading mine and then sending her mine. But then I was like, well, then I wouldn't have it for like,
yes,
to chat about it.
Yes, at this point.
But I can still send her my copy. I don't mind. I have 2 extra misread books that I'm going to send her someday. Janelle, if you're watching, someday I will get it done this year.
Oh, and hi, Elizabeth Brink is here.
Elizabeth.
And Debbie Faust is here. And then my screen just went away.
Oh,
Sharon is here. So hi, everyone. And this was quite a little gem. This was a short one. So it was a little bit different, but you know what? I think, and Cami Castillo's here. I think that I really enjoy kind of the something semi-catastrophic happens and the whole town bands together creatively to figure out a way to make things better. That plot. So I really enjoyed this. I would have liked it if it was longer. But I think since I went in knowing how short it was, I was like, oh, I don't think I'll enjoy this that much. And so maybe since I went in with low expectations, and hopefully that won't backfire for next month when we read Emily Davis. Yeah, so I really liked it. I should have had my my quotes ready. There was one bit particularly about Mrs. Pringle. And I mean, what a battle axe of a woman, right? Yeah, she just never fails to entertain. She does still kind of bother me. But there was
She's your Emma.
Yes, yeah. She wasn't all that present in it, just somewhat present. Yeah, so I enjoyed this, and I loved the idea of having a week-long festival in the community and all of these different things and just people coming together. And I love that. I think it was Mr. Willett who we weren't expecting brilliant things to come out of his brain, but there he was, and he says, why not have a festival? We can do all these things. So I liked that kind of unexpected wisdom from Mr. Willett. Oh, Elizabeth Brink says about Mrs. Pringle, indomitable. So great.
She's becoming one of my favorite characters. You need her because she is that friction to just give you some comedy relief, and yet I don't know, I just love her.
What's interesting is I do know that in Wives and Daughters, Squire Hamley, the old curmudgeon, I really like him. And I love in As Time Goes By, Lionel. He's like an old curmudgeon, but something about, I guess, because Mrs. Pringle's very personal with her insults.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I marked, if you will allow me to read it real quick, yes, of course, yes. It has to do with Miss Pringle. It's on page 44 of my little Signet copy. But I don't even know, I can't remember the context, but she had said something, and it says, Mrs. Pringle is a great one for telling people straight and makes much trouble in doing so. Sometimes I feel like quoting to her a prayer learned in childhood, which says, let me not mistake bluntness for frankness. But I doubt if such a frail dart would penetrate my school cleaner's rhinoceros hide. I'm like, wow, that's a picture right there. But she's so thick-skinned, and she's so set in her ways, and she's so, that would be a frail dart that would not penetrate. I love that imagery.
So then I guess, Elizabeth, could you mind elaborating? Did you enjoy this one? What did you think about it?
Yes, and I remember thinking as I got into it that you guys would probably be happy that there was a plot. It's not just a collection of short stories. We're actually going somewhere in this one. And I don't know, because their church, is it Church of England? Is that what they are? So the whole chalice thing, I'm Southern Baptist. I don't really get the whole significance of that, but I got the fact that it was an important historical artifact that was special for their church, and and the is the vicar, I got it, that he really just moved heaven and earth to not have to give that up, and the people who thought that they should give it up just didn't have the sentimentality, that you would hope that they would have, because they didn't have the history. They were kind of, Johnny come lately kind of thing, like the Mons hadn't been there very long. So they were just like, well, sell it. If we need to sell it, sell it. They were thinking more practically, and he was being more sentimental, and I'm sentimental myself. So I always have a heart for that, when somebody really is, sees the importance of the history, and, I don't know. So that was kind of my takeaway from that.
Yeah. And I'd also say, what setting besides a church service is it more important for beauty to matter? And this is, especially if you are in this service, the communion is the high point of the service. And so to have something beautiful and significant, this very historical item. And since it is silver, I was thinking too, if you're going to have the common cup, I think this is something like everyone comes up and takes a sip from it. It is harder for silver to thrive, or for germs to thrive on silver.
Yeah. I remember my first experience going to a church. I visited with somebody where they were doing that, and I was just like, whoa, what?
Yes.
What?
Well, and especially too, because if you don't know in advance, or rather, if you do know in advance, you can hold your wafer and dip your wafer.
Oh,
they'll let you do that. But if you don't know in advance, then you're like, ah. Oh, I have to say, I'm very excited because my friend Heather Pickle, hi Heather, just commented, and we go to church together, and she loves Miss Reed, and I have found this out, and it's very exciting.
Awesome.
Yes. Elizabeth Brink commented, I love when Miss Reed notices Mrs. Pringle's new hat and she misses the cherries on the old one.
Yeah. Those cherries on that hat have had a significant role in this whole series.
Yes, yes. Well, Angie, what did you think?
I really enjoyed it. And as far as Miss Pringle, I like the character. I think she's hilarious, but I would not want to work with somebody like her. She would walk all over me, and I would never have, I would not have the courage to ask her to clean up or do anything extra that she's asked to do. But yeah, I really enjoy her. No, but I really like this. I hadn't been able to finish any of the other Fairacre books. So this is the first one since the second book that we read, I think, that I've finished. So it was really nice to return, especially that I enjoyed that it actually had a plot. And for me, the length was perfect, because any longer and I would not have been able to finish it on time.
Yeah. Oh, and you are Miss Reed.
Yes.
There's one quote, and I wish I had it. My phone's about to die, so I can't look it up because it's gonna die any second now. But my favorite quote was one where the festival's already taking place. They're in the middle of the festival, and they are at they're at the event where, sorry, my cat is just being really needy. He's wanting to climb up on me. I'm sorry. So and I haven't trimmed his claws, so they are super sharp. I don't want him on me. Anyway, they're at the event where they're going to give a history of the town, of the village, and they're at the church, and the lights go out, and Miss Reed says something about how she's thinking about the people who came before her and the people who will come after she's gone and who will be sitting there at that church and worshiping. And I wish I had the quote because it was beautiful, but if somebody has that on hand, sorry.
I'll look
Oh,
for
I
it.
know what you're talking about. Oh.
I know I screen captured it to have it on hand, but like I said, my phone's dying.
Yeah.
If not, it's okay. I'll look it up. I'll try to get it.
It was really sweet. And I think just buildings have such significance. Yeah, I'm thinking about all the people that have been there before. Yeah, I don't think I have it.
Was that before the school program?
I want to say it was before.
School program with the dances in addition to the nursery rhymes. And then Miss Reed is like, maybe I shouldn't have asked for more. I need an aspirin now.
That would be me if I was a teacher. I'd just be hooked on aspirin.
That was me today.
Instead of hooked on phonics.
Yeah, aspirin worked for me.
Although the danger with utilizing aspirin often, my husband has a coworker who that aspirin has, it doesn't work anymore.
Oh.
He gets frequent headaches and his body got immune to the aspirin. Isn't that terrible?
Oh my gosh.
I found the quote.
Oh,
Okay.
you did?
Yes.
Like to read it?
It says, yes, please. It says, we settled back against the hard pew backs and let the sonorous chords flow over us. How many of our Fairacre forebears, I wondered, had listened to Bach by candlelight, as we were doing now? My mind began to wander. There was something wonderfully comforting in the thought that we shared so much in this building with those long dead and those yet unborn. We were, after all, simply a link in a long chain stretching back for centuries and forward into eternity. So they're sitting there in the dark church with candlelight or by candlelight. I thought, what an image. I loved that image that she created.
Yeah, that's really beautiful. Oh, and Sharon, who commented, she said it starts with my mind began to wander.
Yeah.
Oh, she was typing out the quote for us. Thank you, Sharon.
Oh, thank you.
So nice.
A kindred spirit. She knew exactly what quote you were talking about. Thank you very much, Sharon. Yeah, and that's also just something very comforting about it's funny, I hadn't thought about that quote in regards to things being in flux with the roof of the church, but it's kind of all the more this sense of urgency, like we need to take care of this building, and so it will be here. Although
and same thing with the chalice.
Yes, with the chalice too. Yes. Yeah. Oh my goodness, this is so. I just watched Court Jester, and so the chalice at the palace. Have any of you seen Court Jester? There's this whole thing where there's a chalice at the palace, and they go back. It's unbelievable the amount that they go back and forth. So anyhow, oh, and Shelley says, I think this is why I love antiques so much. When I touch the items I've purchased, I wonder who used those items, such as a telephone, a typewriter, and a school bell. It's wild to think about. Well, Rainey, what did you think of Fairacre Festival?
Well, first of all, I will say that I read this at the beginning of the month because I thought I didn't look at the length of it, and I got the audiobook version. And I was like, oh, it always takes me a while to read these. I'm going to read this early in the month. And then I'm listening to it at work, and all of a sudden I was like, it's over.
Huh?
So I'm like, uh-oh, I'm not going to remember this by the time we get there.
Oh, and sir, can I just interject? I felt so disorganized because I actually had a 2023 schedule of this, read along ready to go on Canva, and I hadn't posted it, and I didn't look at it before we arranged this book. And we were going to read Fairacre Festival and Emily Davis in the same month.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay. That
wasn't
makes more
organized.
sense. That's okay. But
Emily Davis is not short.
That's true. It's a longer one. It's like
okay,
close to 400, which is very long for misread. So maybe it's more than that.
Yeah, that's probably was a good mistake to make.
Well, thank you.
But I mean, I'll say I think maybe it was partly because I maybe wasn't into it enough yet, thinking that it was going to be longer, that I just kind of didn't feel like I ever got into it, but I was also listening to it. So sometimes I think, like with those really short ones, it's better to be, if you're going to listen to it, it's like, listen to it when you're basically not doing anything else. Or like, just like for me, like sitting and cross stitching or something. And I was like doing other things. So, so I kind of didn't, like, I listened to it and I, retained it, but I didn't feel like really connected to the story with this one. So I probably liked it a little bit less than I might have if I had taken more time with it, which with that length of book, I probably could have just picked it up physically and read it in a couple of days and then got more out of it. But
yeah, I was shocked when I opened up my Kindle book. It said an hour and a half reading time.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I mean, overall, I did enjoy it. I agree with Elizabeth that you need Mrs. Pringle in these books because I feel like not everybody is happy all the time. And like, obviously there are things that go wrong, but I feel like nobody really is like that mean or like there's really no big tension between people until you get Mrs. Pringle involved. And then like everybody is at odds with her, So, I mean, I think for that reason, I like her. I mean, yeah, like Angie, I wouldn't want to work with her. She would drive me nuts. And I don't think she'd walk all over me, but I think I might get fired if
well, you know what I wonder? I mean, they're very British in how they interact with her. Like, what if somebody said calmly but directly, no, I'm not doing that. Or no, I'd like you to do this. Like, I just wonder, maybe she'd feign her leg pain and leave again.
Yeah, probably. That part to me is like the funniest part whenever they have an argument and then she walks away and they're always like, with her a very profound limp. It's like, oh, yep, she's really mad today.
It really comes and goes, that limp,
Yep. The worse it is, the angrier she is. But aside from Mrs. Pringle, I did like that there was a plot, because I'm more of a plot person. So, and I did like that I liked the whole idea of the village festival, and it kind of reminded me of Thrush Green. I think that was the one I read with Janelle. Yeah, Thrush Green, where they had a village festival, and it was more like that one was more of like a carnival, I guess. But it was just like a very community aspect and everything, and everybody coming together. But I liked the addition of, this is for a good cause. We're trying to raise money for a good cause. So, yeah. And I liked I forget their names, but the American couple that, were they American?
I think so. Because the whole thing with the cookies.
Oh, yeah. I liked that little plot twist. Was that a plot twist at the end where they kind of like didn't think that these people cared, and then whenever they went home, they're like, oh, they did care, because they gave us some funds. And so I did really enjoy it. But I think the thing that I would have liked was for it to be longer and like more scenes with certain people, but
yes. Well, I think that's a sign of really excellent writing. If you're just like, oh, if there could have just been more.
Right.
Because sometimes when one ends, I'm like, what a shame.
Right, exactly. Bless you, Angie.
Thank you.
Well, she knew. She had her sneeze muted.
Yeah, that was funny. She knew it was coming.
Yes. Well, and then that just leaves, last but not least, Chelsea. What did you think?
I really enjoyed this one too. I loved having some plot. I loved that it was mainly the adults in the town more than the children in the town. Sometimes there's just a lot of the children. So having like the little cute scenes with the kids preparing for their school play, but then mostly like it being more amongst the adults and the conversations. I like that part. Mm-hmm. I think it was in this book. I don't know if I'm remembering the book before. I think it was in this book where at the very beginning she's saying with Mrs. Pringle, how she was so pleased with herself for not needing to turn the stove on before October 1st. And I just love that because it's still something like where I work, they don't turn the heat on until like October 1st, and then they don't turn the air conditioning on until like June 1st. And sometimes that's okay, and then sometimes it's like the weather's already changed. Like
right.
we can't go off this schedule. We need to. Like you can tell, you're like, oh my goodness, it's like May 28th and summer has arrived and we could use some air conditioning. So when she was talking about like Mrs. Pringle getting mad if you turn the stove on before October 1st, that cracked me up. And yeah, I really liked, the community trying to plan something. It kind of reminded me of that episode in season 1 of Road to Avonlea with the Magic Lantern show when they did because it sounded like kind of similar. I was never quite sure what they meant with the sound and light show at the church, if they were projecting some pictures. I'm not sure what technology was like in the 60s or if it was just like, it sounded like maybe they were turning the light on different like carvings or something.
I can tell you
like silhouettes, like
maybe
behind a sheet or something.
My high school had really old theater equipment, super old. This was probably from like the 60s or 50s. And so during one of our productions, we had this spotlight thing. It was this metal cylinder looking thing. And we would literally like swing it around, and you had to change the little, like there were these little, like, I don't know what you would
filters
call it.
That you would put different colors.
Right. And so you would lower the purple one to get a purple spotlight. And so that's what I was imagining, was like somebody sitting there moving the spotlight back and forth, changing the color.
Yeah,
that's
probably
really cool.
Yeah. There's a name for that, and now that's going to bug me.
Yeah, you're the theater.
I know nobody cares, but I took a whole class on this. I should know. What's that?
Yeah. Oh, my high school had the same kind of spotlight, and now I am wondering too, what is that called?
Oh, if I wasn't filming on my phone, I'd look it up. Wait, let's see. Maybe. Okay, we're gonna look this up because it's gonna bug me. So talk amongst yourselves.
I was also like, like Rainey said, I wouldn't have minded it being a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit longer, like especially to flesh out a little bit. Like we kind of jumped from like October when the disaster struck. Then there's like 5 sentences, and then it was July and festival time. I wouldn't have mind seeing a little bit more of like the prep and planning, and like there could have been some little small scale drama about more of the logistics of it. Like we got a few little scenes, but I wouldn't have minded a little bit more there. And it was also interesting how much damage it's apparently was, like a wild sum for these people. It's like they were using the church for almost a year through the winter.
It rained and snowed, surely, but I guess it had a tarp covering.
And like it was structurally safe. Who knows? But yeah, it was like because the festival was the storm was in October, and then the festival was in like July. So I'm like, wow, that's a long time to have like the roof. A hole in the roof, or the beams falling down on the roof. But
it was funny, as I was reading, I was like, did I read it wrong? Is it not the roof? Because they keep posting everything. Yeah. And they're like, it'll be nice, we'll hold this part inside in case it rains. And I was like, but wait.
Like, how are you hosting the sound and light show if this thing is like rude? But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed it. It's probably one of my, not as high as Miss Claire. Miss Claire? Was it just Miss Claire?
Yeah.
That's like my favorite so far. But this one is up there. I really liked it.
I definitely enjoyed it more than the December book.
Which one was that? I can't even remember.
I can't even remember the name now. All the names blend together.
I know.
Over the gate?
It was the Village
Thank Christmas. You, Elizabeth. Yes, Over the Gate.
Oh yeah, Village Christmas. And
now,
Over the
it was also Village Christmas. Now we haven't addressed Amy being a visitor for a couple chapters, and Amy makes me really sad because I think she knows that her husband is fooling around, and so the way that she copes is to criticize her friend. Be like, this salad is really good and fresh. It's funny though, people aren't really serving this kind of salad anymore. And it's so funny because I was just talking to someone where they had a friend that they were kind of easing off being friends with this person because they would take their insecurities out on them. And I was like, I had a friend in high school who was heavier set, which is fine. God makes everyone different sizes. But she was self-conscious about it. And so she would talk all the time about how skinny I was. And like, if I would wear certain pants, she'd be like, you look like a grasshopper. And it's just not okay.
It's like, hey, I don't make fun of you. Don't make fun of me.
Yeah, exactly. Body positivity. Yeah. So that's my read on Amy. Like, she knows, but she doesn't. It's, kind of like, we're just not going to talk about this problem, and eventually it will just go away if I just act like everything is normal enough. And I also think it's interesting because I think Miss Reed, the character, she seems to go back and forth on whether she would want to be married. I feel like sometimes she's like, that would be nice, to have somebody to be with. But I feel like after seeing Amy's marriage, she's like, you know what, maybe actually I'm okay how I am. Like, it's definitely
That's
better
where
to
I'm
be
like Miss Reed.
Yeah, it's definitely better to be single than to have to live with a philandering husband. It's just terrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she's
one
still,
thing I noticed,
I'm
speaking
sure
of Amy, was at the beginning of chapter 6, there was an illustration. I think this is the first time we've actually seen Amy in an illustration. There may have been one time before, a long time ago, but I remember when I saw this, I was like, that's not really how I pictured her, but that's fine. But have y'all noticed that in the illustrations, sometimes Miss Reed looks like 50 and other times she looks 25? Face that, I don't know, there's no continuity with her. Yes. They always get the hair in the bun, but the rest of her, it changes. So I don't know.
Funny.
In the illustration.
Yeah, maybe Miss Reed, when she started this series, she didn't really know what all she was going to do with the character of Miss Reed. And I've heard like the character of Hercule Poirot, he should be around 110 by the end of the series. Like if you put it all together.
Well, it's like the Babysitter's Club. The girls never aged past 8th grade. It's like they stopped aging at 8th grade.
Yes.
50 books later, 50 years later, you're still 8th grade.
So there is some speculation in the comments about the stage lights. Someone suggested maybe it's just called stage lights and then color gels for them.
Color gels, yes. Okay. I was waiting to give that. Yes, it's a gel. That was the word I was trying to come up with. But yeah, I could just find that spotlight is just a spotlight.
Yes. Okay.
Because I know those big can lights. Oh, that's the word. Can lights. But it's not for a spotlight. Those lights are the ones that you hook to the cats, and then they maneuver on their own, or I think they're just stationary. But,
I see.
But
no, thank you. That's good to know now. Yeah. So we can have that.
They were too heavy for me, and I would not do the heights of the catwalks. So
well,
so that was like, that's good information to know. Now go do that.
That's awesome. Elizabeth Brink says, I loved how all the young people were excited about the young singer coming and the old people didn't know who he was. That could have been today. That is so, older people are like, who are they? Huh? And then.
Let me, before you get off that subject, let me tell you about, my mother grew up in the 40s. She graduated from high school, I think in like 1944. So for her, the music was something called the hit parade on the radio. And it was like what we would think it was like big band or whatever. So she said one day she was sitting right up, how they would watch the radio. So she's listening to the hit parade. This is in the 1940s. And her father, who was born in 1900, comes in and said, turn off that rot or something like that,
Rot.
Thinking, what? There's always going to be that generation gap, no matter what.
Yes.
It cracked me up. I was like, you're kidding, Mom, really? I'm like, that's so old fashioned. He's like, well, it wasn't to him,
So funny. Well, yeah, and that's, I think I heard the Baroque era is called Baroque because the older generation, it was like, the term Baroque was an insult. And then it just stuck. Yeah, I can't remember what Baroque was like.
Burlesque almost, I think.
Yeah,
I think it had something to do with that.
Like gaudy, kind of. And then Elizabeth Brink said, Amy's always trying to get Miss Reed to marry. Ironic. Karen says Amy's story with her husband comes to a climax in Farther Afield. So I will be interested to see how that goes. Oh, and Shelley Clark says, I'm so happy to listen to this discussion because I had reading sprints last night and she was there. She says, I cannot find my book anywhere and I hadn't finished it. It's a library book. This could get expensive.
Oh no.
Shelley, is it possible it's like sunk in a chair, like a comfy chair? Is it in the size of that or like in a couch somewhere? That's where I've lost several books.
Or between your nightstand and the bed.
That's a good book.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I've done that a couple times.
And Shelley, if anything was different about your bedtime routine last night, I get very stressed when I lose library books.
I was so mad at myself. I had every intention of coming to sprints last night. And then it was like 9:30 and somebody posted about like missing sprints. And I'm like, well, so did I.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's nobody's fault.
Alarm next time.
Yeah.
And Debbie says, I think the very first book hinted that Amy's husband was a cheater. We've kind of known this. It's gonna brim over. Either he's going to leave her or he's not, and so something's got to give.
But we have to wait till number 11. That's what Fairacre. Farther Afield is number 11. Sorry.
No, that's fine. And then Debbie says, remember all the hubbub about Elvis? But he really was like the whole way he danced. That was not people reading into things.
He was trying to get a reaction out of people.
Yeah. Yes. And it was like girls really got hysterical. They would just scream and scream. They didn't know what else to do.
That's how I guess I just am now becoming one of those people. But that's how I feel about K-pop. I can't figure it out. Like Jenny from Jennifer Brooks, her Instagram is like filled with K-pop stuff, and I'm like, why? I don't get this.
The young people these days.
No, like she's not even that much younger than me. I mean, she is, but she's not really.
I think part of it is if you watch Korean television, then you have certain songs that you like associate with those dramas. That's the link for me. So I like soundtrack music because it makes me like think about the like ones that I liked. That's how it works for me, at least.
But every time when she went, I don't know, she went to a concert recently, so she had all these videos of her like freaking out at a concert, and I was like, I don't understand this.
It's
like, it's like I've become that person that doesn't understand the young people's music.
I feel that way about TikTok. I'm very grumpy about TikTok.
Me too. I
don't even have TikTok.
I don't see, Elizabeth, the thing is, I don't either, and I'm still grumpy about it.
Although it invades my YouTube, now you get the TikTok ads when you turn YouTube on. I'm like, I don't need TikTok.
I just think our attention spans are already so lousy, and it's the most short circuit. There's going to be so much research in 50 years on how shorts and reels and TikTok are just so bad for brains.
Oh yeah.
I had downloaded the TikTok app last summer. I'd had it for like a week or two. And I remember I deleted it because I kept feeling dizzy. Like whenever I would scroll through it, I felt dizzy and just, I don't know, I was having this odd feeling. So I deleted it. And this feeling of dizziness did not go away. Well, I tested positive for COVID like a couple of days later. So it was actually COVID. It was COVID symptoms that were causing me to feel dizzy and just not well, fuzzy.
Wow.
So then I got TikTok again after, but then I deleted it because I was spending so much time on it. It was hours would go by and I'd just be scrolling. So I thought, it's a waste of time.
And it is, I mean, it's amusing and you can find the specific things that you're interested in, but it's just this endless cycle. Yeah. Shelly says she doesn't have it. She doesn't like it, but I have friends who send me videos from TikTok.
Yeah, I do too. That's the only reason I got it, because my one friend would always send me like either funny videos or like animal videos from it. So like, but I wouldn't be able to open them if I didn't have TikTok. Yeah. So one day, I was like, I guess I'm gonna have to create an account.
So wait, you can't open a TikTok video link without the app?
I couldn't at the time. I don't know. This was a while ago.
I'll periodically send my dad an Insta reel, and he definitely doesn't have Instagram. And that's I think he's able to open it.
Yeah, Instagram is different, I think.
And with TikTok now, because I don't have TikTok, but my sister sometimes sends me. Well, sometimes she downloads them and sends them like on WhatsApp. But you can see like one, and then you can't like scroll to see the rest of the creator. You can just see the one that you got linked. And I think you can also, like, if you know the name of the person, you can see their most recent one or two.
Okay.
On a website. Like, I don't know if it's on the phone. I mean, like on a laptop.
I also could have just been doing it wrong.
I feel like the funniest ones come over onto Instagram Reels anyway. So
that's true. That's a good point.
That's what I do.
My sister told me about one, and I laughed so hard when I heard it, because this is like very relatable if you have a sister. Where she said, you're in the car and your phone is hooked up to Bluetooth. So it's going to be on speaker when you answer. And so this is for the scenario of you're riding in the car with your mom and your sister calls and you're like, "Hi, you're on speaker, mom's in the car. How are you doing?"
Yep.
Don't say anything you don't want me to hear.
My sister also sent me the one that was going around on Instagram as well, where it was like the big sister making the little sister repeat, please may I have the red one, and like the sister kept saying like forgetting please or saying like can I, and she was like no, you have to say please may I have the red one. And finally this little girl got the whole sentence. She's like no, you can't.
Oh,
that's my legacy as an older sister.
That's such an older sister move.
I was just, when you were talking about that, I was having a misread moment. I was sitting here thinking, okay, 20 years ago, people our age were sitting there talking about the kids with MySpace, and 20 years before that, they're talking about kids just with computers in general. You know, it's like that link going back in time where the you know, adults are like reflecting about the stuff that the kids know all about.
Yes, and then I'm remembering in the Betsy Tacy series, it's like a very big deal. One of the guys gets a car, and so he's like this teenager driving around with a car.
I did not like that guy.
No one likes that guy, Rainey. Don't worry.
No,
except
only
himself.
Betsy liked that guy.
Yes. Yeah, well, and also I think what's scary is basically since the Industrial Revolution, it's the rate of change keeps increasing.
Yeah.
And so now it's kind of, you can't opt out of some things. Like I don't like at some toll booths, it's easy pass only. Like, so you just have to get this thing. You can't just pay cash at a toll booth. We have gotten off topic because I think we have talked about pretty much everything at Fairacre Festival. So I think I will log us off. I didn't think we were going to have too much. So yes, Shelley says Phil Brandish. Phil Stinkin' Brandish.
Phil Stinkin' Brandish. I forgot his
and
name
Heather says, I'm always commenting on the music when I am in stores and being forced to listen to nonsense. I'm definitely an old woman in that sense. And also, and it's like things that are just so overplayed. Like, oh, we're hearing it again. Okay, this is what we're doing.
My car, the only station. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, I do like Shazam. That's nice. That's a nice thing to have when I hear a song that I don't know and I'm like, ooh, that's Shazam this. And then you can immediately get it on your, or look for it on Spotify. So there are some perks.
Yes. So we will be back next month for Emily Davis, which I think we're all very excited for.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us. And I will be posting on Instagram. And then I forgot to do a community post on YouTube about the date for the Emily Davis discussion. But thank you everyone for joining us. And I hope you have a good
hold on. Can I do a quick plug really quick?
Oh, yes, of course.
Can I do a plug? Tomorrow announcements are coming out for the Little House Readathon, which is always February 7th through the 10th, because those are the birth and death dates of Laura Ingalls Wilder. And so be sure to check it out. Naomi's hosting again, and also Lindsay from Lindsay Reads. And we'll have a live stream on the 11th, which is a Saturday at February 11th at 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, and we will be discussing our group read and also doing Little House trivia out of my Little House trivia book.
I am curious to see tomorrow what the group read is going to be. So
that I will not spoil.
All right.
But it might have something to do with something that you are doing. So you will get a shout out tomorrow in the video.
Ooh, so intriguing. Good night, everyone.
Good night.